On the banks of a serene river, there lived a small village known for its beautiful clay pots. There lived Liang, an elderly potter who supported his family with his calloused hands and unwavering patience. He had 2 sons. The youngest, Wei, was talkative, curious, and loved to barter with travelers. The eldest, Jun, was a man of few words, shy and insecure. Jun watched his father masterfully mold the clay, but rarely dared to touch the potter's wheel. When he did, his hands trembled so much that the pots cracked. The villagers laughed at him behind his back, calling him the son of silence. Liang, impatient, began to feel ashamed of his eldest son. "A man who fears making mistakes will never create anything worthy," his father would say, unaware that his words hurt more than they taught. Over time, the fear of disappointing his father grew within Jun like a knot in his chest. He tried to help sell the ceramics, but his voice broke in front of the customers. One day, a cunning merchant appeared, pretending to be Liang's, and convinced Jun to deliver all the month's pieces to him. When his father returned to find the studio empty, fury overcame him. "You are not my son. You are a burden that fate has imposed on me." Jun fled before sunrise. He walked aimlessly to the end of the valley, where the river became a wild torrent. He sat at the water's edge, determined to put an end to his shame. The cold wind whispered, and tears mingled with the current. It was then that he heard a soft voice behind him. "Waters cannot erase what the heart still needs to learn." It was Tao, a traveler in simple clothes and a calm gaze. He approached and asked what was tormenting the young man. Jun told him everything: fear, failure, anger at his father, and the burden of feeling worthless. Tao listened in silence, and when the boy finished, he simply said, "Come with me. There is someone who can teach you to see yourself differently." The 2 walked for hours until they reached a small monastery high in the hills. Under the shade of an ancient pine tree, Master Han, a man with a serene countenance and a silver beard, meditated. When Jun knelt before him, he couldn't help but cry. "Master, there is nothing worthwhile in me. Everything I touch breaks." Han opened his eyes and replied, "Clay also breaks before it becomes strong. But you haven't been to the fire yet." The master then challenged him, "For 3 days you will do as I command. If you don't feel a change at the end of them, you may leave." On the first day, Han ordered, "Walk to the market and greet 20 people. Just say good morning and smile." Jun hesitated but obeyed. He was ignored by some, mocked by others, but every smile he received in return ignited something new within him. As night fell, he felt less invisible. On the second day, the master asked him to teach 5 children how to mold clay. "Me teach?" Jun protested. "Those who know a little teach the essential," Han replied. Trembling, Jun sat with the children and showed them how to feel the clay between their fingers. At first he could barely speak, but soon he forgot himself. When he saw the children smiling at their crooked pots, he laughed along. For the first time, he wasn't afraid to make mistakes. On the 3rd day, the master looked at him and said, "Now, go back to your village and ask your father for forgiveness." Jun paled. "He doesn't want to see me." Then go to listen to him, not to be heard. The journey back seemed longer than a lifetime. Upon arriving, he found his father hunched over the wheel, silently shaping clay. Jun knelt and murmured, "Father, I failed because I was always afraid of disappointing you." Liang stopped the wheel, looked at his son, and saw something different in his eyes. Not fear, but firmness. The potter's wrinkles softened, and he embraced him. "Clay needs to be kneaded to take shape. Perhaps I was the harsh wind that broke you." In the days that followed, father and son worked side by side. Jun began creating unique pots, simple, imperfect, yet full of soul. Soon, travelers began seeking them not for their beauty, but for the serenity they conveyed. Years later, old Liang departed peacefully, proud. Jun took over the studio and began teaching young apprentices. He often repeated Han's words, "Shyness is just fear disguised as silence, and fear is clay before the fire." Those who listened to him saw in him no longer the son of silence, but the master of patience, the man who learned that courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to continue in spite of it.